Hey there, Fletcher All Things Overlanding here, and today I wanted to talk about a really cool, interesting piece of gear that I just picked up from a company called Novsight. I've actually had some of their ditch lights and light bars and things like that on my truck before and been really impressed with the quality of the products for the price. They're a budget-minded sort of option to the bigger name brands out there, and their stuff is always really high quality. So when I saw this thing, I was like, hey guys, I want to check this out. This thing is actually a clippable little lantern that you can use to attach to the side of your vehicle. You can use it to put in your rooftop tent or your ground tent. You can use it with a 1/4-20 mount on the bottom. So there's tons of ways that you can use this thing. So I'm going to walk you through this thing. I'm going to show you all the dimensions of it, all the specs of it. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I plan to use this thing. And I just wanted to bring your attention to this thing because it's really a fascinating entry from a company that traditionally makes vehicle mounted lights into the sort of lantern camping overlanding space. So again, just wanted to show you this thing today. So let's get into the Novsight lantern.
Let you go. Ooh, let's just pull you closer. Ooh, I can't understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you gave to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, guys. So as I mentioned today, I'm talking about this new Novsight lantern. This thing is really cool, really well made. It's heavy too. I mean, this thing probably weighs a pound plus. I'll put the weight up here on the screen. But it is super cool. And again, I just wanted to kind of show this to you because I've had a number of lanterns. I'm looking around to see if I have any more sitting here right now because I generally have a couple of them at all times in my rooftop tent. I've got some in my truck. I've got some in my drawer system. Lanterns are just really helpful around camp, right? Like if you don't want to have to be harnessed to a headlamp or sort of stuck in a location. If I've got my kids with me and I want the ground to be lit up so they're not tripping and falling all over the place, I'll have a lantern kind of strung about everywhere. So again, when I saw this, I was like, dude, I love this company and they make some cool stuff. Let's see what this thing's all about. But so this thing has sort of it seems to be mostly aluminum construction. So it's a metal body, which is probably why it's sort of heavy. On the top here is a USB-C plug and a USB-A plug. So again, because it has a pretty significant 13,500 milliamp hour battery, you could also use this as a way to charge up gear that you've got laying around. So if you're using this as a lantern and your kids need to charge their iPad, you could plug it into here. And again, with the size of that battery, it's got quite a bit of juice to get that stuff charged up, which I really like. It's also, you know, semi-weatherproof with this rubber sort of deal on it. And again, they build lights that are meant to be strapped to the outside of vehicles all the time. So I'm sure that this thing is hardy and it feels it too. So on the front here, you have this primary light, right? And basically there are two switches on the back. And what those are is there seem to be two sets of LEDs that make up this primary light. So there are white ones, and then there are like more of like an amber or a yellow or a off-white sort of color LEDs. So if I turn on one of these switches, I'm going to back it up a little bit so I don't blind you. That is more of the amber tone. So I'm going to show it on the wall behind me here. So that's more of the amber tone, but you can see how bright that is, right? Just unrestricted, just the open light shining on the back wall there. But then this other light you can turn on in addition to it. So because it's only using half of the LEDs right now, it's only at half brightness. When I turn this one on, it adds a colder, whiter light to it, and it doubles the light output. So it actually is really bright light. You can use this again around camp to light things up. But so you kind of have control over the whiteness of the light or the more sort of amber of the light. So it's almost like having two lights in one, which is pretty cool. Now, if you turn all the lights off, you also have a nighttime red mode. Now, these are just smaller LEDs. These aren't going to put out as much light output. So when I get to the end of this video, I'm going to show you kind of how I plan to use it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits of the red lights and also how these could work in a setup like mine that is an overlanding built setup. One thing that I really like is on the back, it has a visualization of how much battery juice you have left. So obviously there are 4 lights. So if you're at 100%, you've got all 4, and then they'll go down as the battery reduces. Of course, after you turn off the lights, a couple seconds later, that will turn off just to conserve power, but kind of a nice little feature that's built into a really rugged, really hefty sort of lantern like this for camp. The other thing that I think this would be really good for is if you are someone like me that makes videos, whether it's for YouTube or just for fun or family videos and stuff like that, having the ability to control the color of your light is really important. Being able to control the quantity of light is really important. And having something that's hefty and mountable is really important too. So that brings us to the bottom here. On the bottom, you'll see this little threaded mount. That is actually a 1/4 mount. Again, if you are not familiar with camera gear and things like that, that's the standard fitting for most tripods, camera mounts, all that sort of thing. So all my cameras mount on 1/4. So I could throw this up on a tripod and make it sort of almost like a Devos Light Ranger or something. I could, throw this up in my truck and do that. I've actually, on the side of my truck, and I'll show you here, I've got some 1/20 mounts that I use to throw GoPros on my truck. So I could put this on the side of my truck, get it to the angle that I want it to be at, turn on the lights, and then just leave it and illuminate everything under my awning. But again, it's portable. I don't have to put it up there. So it gives me a lot of options, right? Rather than like a hard mounted light or something like that, this just gives you options as far as where you want to put it. Now, here's a really cool thing that comes with it. There are pros and cons to this. It gives you this sort of illumination tube, if you will. It gives you this sort of lens almost that you can put onto it. It does have like an aluminum metal threaded part to it, so it's really hardy. Again, same as the rest of the light, it's built really well. So you can just thread this on here so that you can disperse the light. So again, if you didn't want that direct light like I just showed you shining on the wall, you can screw this on, turn on your light, and then it works more like a lantern, right? It disperses that light more, and again, you can control how much white, how much yellow you want. So again, for people that are making videos, this seems like a really cool thing, but even if you're just looking for like a really high quality, really nice, weatherproof sort of light that you can use around camp and stuff, this thing's cool. The cons of this that I wanted to point out, as I mentioned, is it's big, right? That's why they made this removable, I'm sure, and that is pretty nice, is so when you wanted to store this in a drawer, you could put this in pretty flat, you could put this beside it, right? So you could store this down in a way that it's not so big, but obviously if you have this on, like trying to store this in a backpack or a drawer, it's gonna be pretty big, and it's gonna take up quite a bit of room. So just something to be aware of. But again, if you are specifically shooting videos or things like that, or if you just want a really high quality lantern, this might be a good option for you, and I wanted to share it. One last thing that I did want to touch on is it also has this built-in metal carabiner here on the front. And basically this thing pushes in like this, so you could, again, hook it on whatever you want, hook it in there, you could do one of these and basically make it upside down. So if you're in your tent or something, you could use that carabiner to attach it to a strap or something from the top of your tent or your rooftop tent, and you could hang it, use it to light up your tent, that sort of thing. All right, so just to kind of show you really quick, these are the 1/20 mounts that I was talking about. These are meant to kind of throw a GoPro up on the side of my truck. So if I'm, out and about and I want to record kind of a truck behind me, I can throw one on this side. I've also got one up front on the passenger side too. So I've got a couple of options, but my awning is over here. So what I could do is I could open this. I could just take this thing with this 1/20 mount and turn it right onto there, right? Just like that. And then you can adjust it to exactly where you want it. And then you turn your lights on. And then, I've got my awning opened up there, and then I'm lighting up the whole thing. If I want to add the lens to it to kind of disperse the light. God, I'm not left-handed, am I? If I wanted to add my little lantern disperser on there, I could do that. And then again, right under my awning, I've got a really nice lantern. It's rechargeable. I could use it to charge stuff. If you had other lights up on here, which I actually do have a Luminoodle in here that requires some sort of an extra battery, I could plug those into this and use the battery from this lantern to run that Luminoodle, so I could have additional lighting. So that's kind of where my head went with it, is I think this is actually a really cool, really usable sort of piece of gear for a lot of people. But if you don't happen to have 1/20 mounts on the side of your truck like me, because I'm a weirdo, that's okay. It's also got a flat bottom on it, so you could just set it on your bed, set it here, set it on a table, whatever you want. Again, you've still got that adjustability, so you could point it wherever you need it to go. You could use this carabiner here on the front and, attach it up to like your bed rack, things like that. Take a piece of paracord and run it between two trees and hang this thing from it using that carabiner. So there are a ton of different ways that you could use this thing that make it really useful around camp. All right, so that is the Novsight portable lantern. Again, just wanted to share this with you guys because I thought it was pretty cool. And again, it feels extremely well built. So compared to a lot of the cheaper lanterns and stuff that I've had, I have no doubt that this thing, I could throw it in my drawer system off-road for a day and then get to camp and pull this thing out and it's going to work. So pretty excited about that. And again, wanted to share this thing that you've probably never seen before because I had not heard of it except for the fact that I follow Novsight on a lot of stuff and I sort of saw them talking about it. So I hope that was helpful for you. Of course, if you have any questions or anything like that, post up in the comments down below. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you want one of these, I will put a link in the description down below to it as well, so you can pick one up really easily. Also in the description below will be links to all my social channels. So wherever you want to come hang out, I'd love to have you. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all over the place. So again, wherever you're at, if you want more all things overlanding, it's easy to find me. Also in the description down below will be links to my website where I've got funny camping and overlanding themed stickers and patches. So if you're into that kind of stuff, click through that link and go check those out. They're pretty reasonably priced, I think, and they're cool. So if you want some, check them out. A new thing that I'm also trying is down below this video, there's a join button. That's actually something through YouTube. It's just a way, if you want to support the channel, you can do it through that link. And you also get early access to all the videos, which is pretty cool. You'll get to see them before anybody else. So if you're interested in that, no pressure at all, but click on that join button down below. And then last but not least, there's also a Patreon group. There's a link to that in the description as well, but we have a 24/7 Discord. We're going to go on a couple trips every year. It's actually turning into a pretty fun thing. And there's quite a few pretty awesome people in that group already. So check that out if you're into that. And then of course, the Newbie Overlanders group, totally free to join. It's on Facebook, and there's tons of awesome members in there. If you're newer to overlanding, or if you're more experienced and you're tired of getting bullied or seeing people just be negative on the bigger groups, check that group out as well. But again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.